my big thing is to, when a team member calls in sick, to say, don't automatically assume they are sick, and don't automatically assume they are bringing up. They might just need a mental health personal day.
Welcome to Biz Help for You, the show that saves you the expensive learning curve by providing advice from industry experts in every facet of the entrepreneurial journey. Too many small businesses collapse. According to the U.S. Census Bureau, 20% fail within their first year, and less than 35% make it to their 10th anniversary. The goal of this podcast is to change that statistic. So if you're interested in learning more to be a successful entrepreneur, tune in today.
Let me tell you a little bit about my guest today. Born with cerebral palsy, Wynne Charles has defied the odds by becoming an author. Her memoir, I, Wynne, is a remarkable account of her life with this condition. As a competitor in the Kona Ironman triathlon and a motivational speaker, Wynne Charles is an inspiration to many. She travels across the country, speaking at schools and institutions to raise awareness about cerebral palsy and living a fulfilling life despite challenges. Additionally, she is an advocate for veterans worldwide. Entrepreneurs can learn from her resilience, determination, and the importance of leveraging personal experiences to inspire and drive positive change. So, Wynne, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me on. And my story, how it relates to entrepreneurship, is I started being an entrepreneur in 2010, right after losing my mom, which led me to be an entrepreneur and do writing and do then a podcast, which I fully embrace. I have been doing that for over 10 years, and I have a lot of listeners. And right now I'm taking a little bit of a break because I had a challenging summer due to my health. I had scoliosis surgery again, and I decided to take the summer off, and now I'm slowly but surely going back to work, going back into the podcasting space. But all in all, it's been a great, wonderful adventure, and I love it. I love it every single day because I get to hang out and do what I love every single day and make money off it too.
Well, and I know sometimes the entrepreneurs are thinking they would love to be able to write a book at some point too, whether it's something personal or it's related to what they do in their business. So do you want to tell your story of how you became an author?
Oh, long story, but I'll give you the short version. As I said, my mom died in 2010. So I watched her die in the ICU in Denver, Colorado at the time. And I watched her die and watched all her suffering for about a month. But I realized as I was watching her die, I realized that I needed to share my story with the world. So what I did after she died is I took a vision board class, and I mentioned this in my book. I took a vision board class meant for people with disabilities. And for those of you that don't know, I have ataxic spastic cerebral palsy, which is cerebral palsy is a lack of oxygen injury at birth. And so, yes, I have a physical disability, but why I decided to write this book is because of my mom, and I used speech dictation to write this book. And you can write a book on your phone, essentially. Now it will have to be edited, but you can write a book on your phone.
Mm-hmm. Well, I would love for you to share even how you have maybe overcome, the challenges that you had with your disability, and how did it shape your approach to both personal and professional endeavors?
Uh, I overcame. Well, that's a very interesting story. And I'll admit it publicly, since my mom died, I had my own skeleton in the closet, so to speak. And people said to me, "Oh, when you're doing all this great stuff, but at the same time, you're grieving the loss of your mom." And then they said the exact same thing in 2019 when I lost my dad. So again, you're grieving, you're doing all this amazing stuff, you're pushing down the grief of losing both your parents. Finally, finally on April 23rd, 2024, when I woke up from back surgery, I realized that something was wrong more than the surgery they had just done 5.5 hours later. And I realized that something was wrong. And I apparently, according to a witness, I apparently looked so scared out of my ever-loving mind because I woke up in the recovery room with oxygen mask and all this good stuff tied to me and a back brace. And I fully knew what I had done. I was fully conscious of what I had done, but I knew something in my heart was definitely wrong. And then when I had post-surgery complications, that thing creeped its ugly head up, and that thing was anxiety and depression. And I was supposed to be diagnosed with anxiety and depression in 2010. And so basically that has shaped my work since my new diagnosis. That has shaped my work as a podcaster and as a writer, because I want to break the stigma of mental health and no more skeletons in the closet for me. And I've made it public. My inner circle knows that I struggle with it. Some days are better than others. Lately, my schedule has been so chaotic that it's really hard to focus on it, which is a good thing. But some days are better than others. And yes, I'm on medication for it. Yes, I'm lucky that I'm on a small dose of medication for it. But yes, I have anxiety and depression.
Mm-hmm. So I know this is something that has come to light more in recent years, even where people are starting to talk more about mental health and what we can do to support those who are struggling and dealing with it. And I would love to kind of bring that into like the entrepreneurship world as well, too. So whether we as the entrepreneurs ourselves are dealing with this struggle, or we have someone on our team maybe who's struggling, like how can we help in those situations where, there is work that needs to be done, but we don't want to put too much pressure on ourselves or those who are working with us to make it even worse, right? Can you talk about maybe that situation and how we can handle that?
Well, I am lucky enough that I have received services privately over the years, and I am lucky enough that I got into mental health before I got even diagnosed. So I knew how to deal with it from a mental health sense. So when it comes to entrepreneurship and mental health, my big thing is to, when a team member calls in sick, per se, don't automatically assume they are sick, and don't automatically assume they are bringing up. They might just need a mental health personal day, because they might be in the midst of a divorce. They might be in the midst of moving. They might be in the midst of losing a loved one. They may be in the midst of having a custody battle with the kids. I mean, we don't know what goes on behind the scenes with people. People certainly don't know what goes on behind the scenes with me, even though I'm public about it. But don't automatically assume, if you have a team, that they are bright-eyed and bushy-tailed every single day when they walk into that co-working space, or when they walk into the office, or if you're working out of your home and you have a assistant coming to help you. Don't automatically assume that the assistant is bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. They might have cried in the car for a half an hour before coming to see you. And ask people authentically, are you okay? Are you okay? Do you want to talk about? Because that's treating people like humans and not treating people like AI robots goes a long way. Are you okay? Do you want to talk about it? And I have my safe spaces where I can talk about other people. I just put on the bravest face in the world and carry on. I know my safe spaces where I can talk about it. And I think for entrepreneurs in general, we need those safe spaces like counseling and mental health groups and pastoral care. Yes, I said pastoral care. If you're a member of a church, most churches have some sort of pastoral care, at least Episcopalians do, but you may want to figure out where your safe spaces are. And I know that a lot of people do go to church, and you may, believe it or not, you may want to befriend the pastoral care team. Just, even though they're not counselors by any means, they can just be a shoulder to get you help. I mean, churches they have resources out the yin yang. You just have to look under your own rocks to find these resources. I mean, I certainly have, for my own disabilities, I'm on the phone constantly, even though I have help. I'm on the phone constantly dealing with aid management, dealing with doctor's appointment, dealing with everything, including hosting a podcast, including writing books. So you need to find a work-life balance.
Mm-hmm. So as an employer too, like, how can we help those with either physical or mental challenges determine like what work opportunities would be successful for them? And then how can we actually help them be successful in those positions?
Well, this is a huge controversy. Do you mention your disability? as in the interview. And my take is, yes, you mentioned I have cerebral palsy. I have anxiety and depression. I have XYZ. You do mention, and that is why. Why do you mention that? Because you need modifications. People with mental illness need modifications, even though mental illness is a hidden disability. People with mental illness need modifications just as much as the physical disabled do. And studies have been done over the years. Give a disabled person a job, you have the best employee ever.
Mm-hmm.
Don't underestimate the power of the disability, even though they may get a little frustrated when you give them an admin task that they don't like doing. They will grumble. They will grumble at you for about a week, and then they will get used to it. Or you give them a phone task and they don't like doing it. They will grumble at you for about a week, and then they get over it. You just have to be compassionate towards those with physical and mental disabilities.
Mm-hmm. Well, making accommodations if we know, right? Like you said, if they tell us, because we can't ask, right, on the employer side.
No. By law, that's why one of the reasons why I'm open the book. By law, HIPAA, you can't ask blatantly during the interview, do you have physical or mental disability? You cannot ask that. And I'm not a lawyer by any means, but I know that from my own personal experience. You can't ask that. But if you see a person in a wheelchair and they want a job, give them a chance. Give people a chance. All they want is a chance. And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that's true for any person that you hire, right? You know, there's no guarantee that ends up being the right fit or it's the best long-term position. They might be great for a while and maybe the position changes. So I think you have that no matter who you're hiring. But it did remind me while you were speaking, I spoke with someone, you know, quite a few months ago who was blind, who gave the statistic, and I don't remember the exact number, but I know it was more than 60% of those with the disability were unemployed and wanting to work. And like he said too, if you hire them, you will have a very loyal employee because they are very grateful to even have a position. So I agree with you, you know, on that too.
The workforce when it comes to disabilities is very, 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 very tough. And it's extremely tough. And I tried to go back into the workforce after moving to Arizona, but the workforce and me didn't get along. So I would rather take care of me, which is a full-time job in itself, and do my own thing. And so that's why I decided to be a solo entrepreneur.
So I'd love for you then to talk to, we did mention you wrote a book, you know, and like I said, some people may be thinking about doing it too. So I'd love for you maybe to even talk about what were some of the obstacles that you encountered while writing your book too, so that someone who thinks, well, this might not be that hard to do, might understand really what does it take to put a book out there.
Using speech dictation, that is one of the biggest obstacles that I had to face, but I conquered that. And I not only have one book, I have 11 books, soon to be 12 books out, 11 books out, and I'm working on my 12th, but that's slower than I would like to count. But using speech dictation was one of the biggest headaches ever, and I admit that publicly. That's the first time I've admitted that using speech dictation is one of the biggest headaches ever to write a book. And then getting it edited is one of the biggest headaches. And with AI now, and yes, shoot me because I said AI, with artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence is great. Don't get me wrong. But they say, and I believe in this, Amazon is picky when it comes to AI and writing books. Amazon makes you can use AI as long as you don't use the whole AI kit and caboodle. So you can use AI, but just use it sparingly. And so that's why I use speech dictation when I am planning to write a book, and I do use AI, and I do use all the assistive tools, but speech dictation and finding an editor is a pain in the ass because there's so many of them there's so many editors to choose from. I use Freelance Editors Alliance. That's how I found my last editor. And then I interview them. I'm very, very picky about my editors, and then I hand them messes they seem to make it work, and then
So besides finding an editor, obviously that's one obstacle. Like, what other obstacles did you face in getting your book published or your books published?
Well, Amazon is an obstacle in itself. And so that's why I'm using a publisher. And that's why, and just having time to write said book is an obstacle in itself. I mean, I have a dear friend who wrote 2 books now on the same subjects. And she looked at me one day because she knows I'm an author. And she goes, "You know this just as well as anyone. Having the time to sit down and write a book is a feat in itself, because we don't have time to sit down and write a book." Now, I have help, but I can barely produce a podcast, let alone recover from back surgery, let alone write a book. So even though I have a loyal fan base that loves my work and loves my podcast, if you ask me, Cindy, to write a book, I would say give me a year to write it, and then I'll produce something. Give me a year of nothing but writing. And of course, life doesn't work that way. Life is life.
Right. Well, even as an entrepreneur, if we're running a business, or whatever that, might be, it definitely, like you said, it takes time, and to have that time to focus. So do you set a schedule for yourself that says, I'm going to write so much per day, or how does it work to have your thoughts be able to get from your head to your paper?
When I'm in the mood to write a book, I set myself a schedule, and I typically, to tell you the honest truth, I could walk out of this house with my iPad and plunk myself down in a quiet space during the day and put my headphones in and start speech dictating away if I needed to. My house, I can't write a book in my house, certainly not now, and I can barely produce a podcast. But I have the luxury of having a common space where, if needed, I could go with my iPad and plunk myself down for about a good 2 hours and start writing a book.
Mm-hmm. So how has your experience then as a disabled educator influenced your approach to entrepreneurship and advocacy?
Well, people notice when CP, my disability, is having problems. I put my work to the side. I've put my work to the side all summer. So that was April, May, June, July, August. Now I'm slowly starting to get back into it because I was no dummy. I knew I was having back surgery. And so people know to get a hold of me, it's CP has to be on a good day. And lately I've been having better days than horrible days. But my disability comes first. My work comes second. I have the luxury of having help. So I can just sit in my PJs and record a podcast if I want to, or sit in fully dressed and record a podcast. So it's really based on how my disability is doing that day.
Mm-hmm.
It's truly, really based on how my disability is doing that day.
Mm-hmm. So I know we are coming close to the time that we had for us to chat today. So I would love to ask, do you have an offer that you would like to extend to our listeners? And if someone wants to connect with you, how would they find you?
My offer would be this: just go support your favorite podcaster and just leave them a review, because independent Cindy, Candy's shaking her head, yes, because independent podcasters are a dime a dozen, and we don't have the funding to put this all together. We're doing it well. We're doing it well. We don't have a big studio to do it in. And trust me, I almost went down that rabbit hole, but it didn't land up working out. So it landed up being that, just support your favorite podcaster and support your favorite indie author. And my thing is, if people want to contact me, just Google my name. My name will pop up. And if you go to winlife.podcast.webelieve.com, everything will pop up there and everything will be available. And it even has my address on it if you want to send me PR stuff. And just be kind to people with disabilities, physical or mental disabilities.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's great advice. Everything that you shared is so true about the podcasters. We do this because we, want to make a difference, or whatever that, win is for us. For me, my goal is really educate entrepreneurs to help them be successful, because too many, businesses fail. So yes, we do all of these ourselves. I'm not, a professional podcaster per se. So yes, those reviews would be fabulous, right? If you enjoyed it, please, share that. And like you said, just thinking about the person that has a disability, how can we help, make a difference? And like I said, even if it's someone that's struggling with depression or anxiety, just being there with a listening ear, I think is also something that you brought up that is really important to consider. So thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
And to the listener, I hope you enjoyed today's discussion. And if you want to hear additional information, you can find access to exclusive content in the show notes. Thank you for tuning in today. Would you please share this episode with those you know and leave a review on your favorite platform? And if you find our show informative, would you consider being a financial sponsor to help me continue my mission to educate business owners? A link is located in the episode description, and no amount is too small. I'd really appreciate your support. If you are interested in connecting with our guest and receiving the offer they had to share, a link to our resource page is in the show notes. Finally, if you have any bookkeeping or payroll needs, reach out to us at 310-534-5577 or contact@abandp.com. My team and I are eager to assist you. Until next time, have a great day.
Thank you for listening to Biz Help for You. Please join your host, Candy Messer, again next time. Have a terrific day.